Greetings and welcome to Legacies of Wavryn, Lore of the Endelment. This will be chapter 14 of this reading. It came to me again that night, the whisper. This time, though, there was more than one speaking. I had no idea of what they wanted or what they were trying to get at, but they only gave me nightmares, visions of him, the Endelment. However, I never saw his true face, only a glimpse of it. He was rampaging through worlds, destroying anything and everything at will. No one was safe. He killed without hesitation. He killed without remorse. He killed for pleasure. He laughed at the screams of pain and slaughtered all of those in his wake, even if they were innocents. When he killed those that were strong, it left the weak to suffer within his grasp, fearing his return and praying that he doesn't ever feel the need to kill them. He was a vile and cruel monster. He was even worse than Father. I almost felt that the Demonion was our true hero, but that just didn't seem right. As the nightmares ran through my mind, the whispers did as they pleased, talking as if to themselves. Yet I knew that they were trying to speak to me. Some were quiet, others were very loud. They spoke quickly and randomly of the legend. I knew that's what it was about. It couldn't have been of anything else. This is what they said. "He cannot be stopped," one demanded. "He will be reborn." Then a second one calmly said, "The ancients knew of their coming death. They knew they would not be able to stop the corrupt minds of the mortal ones." After that, a third one viciously added, "They knew of their greed and lust for power. They knew, but the ancients foresaw mortals would never be able to overthrow them. The ancient advisors band together to find what they knew no mortal, nor even a god, could stand against. One so powerful that he could destroy entire solar systems with one simple blast. As once the Dominion could do, but now they found him. Him. He was their hope. The only hope. The one that could end it all. You. You must know. No mortal could even begin to hope that they can use a power that only an ancient knows. You must know. I woke up nearly in fear of my life and the lives of others. It was horrible. The nightmare and those whispers. I didn't know what it was they wanted, but I felt I should never try to find out. Found myself with my back to the floor between the kitchen and the living room, along with Bunny sitting on top of my waist. She was bracing herself against the floor to lean over me, with a graceful smile that could make flowers bloom. I glanced around to see that my chair broke again, and everyone else was watching the news about what happened yesterday, except Vincent, of course. He was meditating again, placing his back against the right side wall near the front door. However, those that were watching TV were not getting a good feed off it. For some reason, the military was proving that this was all some sort of failed experiment. Damn government and their conspiracies. I turned to Bunny and calmly, yet bluntly, asked, "What are you doing?" In response, she giggled, then said, "Mama's right. You are cute when you're sleeping." That doesn't answer my question. She giggled some more and didn't even think to answer, even though she knew I hated it when people did that. Bunny was just a simple black fur rabbit allikins, but she was a bit different from normal. She couldn't transform into her animal self. She had light skin with a slight tan and was an average-looking girl to that of what goes around in Wavryn. She had black fur on her rabbit ears and tail, with short pitch black hair from her head that went down to just above her chin. She stood 3 inches shorter than Wolf, was about 17 years young, and had light blue eyes that had a slight fade to forest green around the outer edges. She wore dark gray skin-tight jeans that she rolled up slightly at her ankles, and black skate shoes that were slightly scuffed up around the soles. She had a small, black skin-tight t-shirt that said, "If you're reading this, then we're not talking," across the top of her chest, written in light blue letters. It was an old joke, but it was still one of Bunny's favorites. She also had 3 gold circular earrings at the base of her right ear that were on the outer right edge, and 3 silver circular earrings at the tip of her left ear that were on the outer left edge. Her ears were 1 foot and 2 inches long and 2 inches wide in her half state. Her right ear always stood up, and her left ear bent down in front of her left eye, nearly covering it. "By the way," Bunny said, slightly tilting her head to her right, "did Mama ever tell you about who she found?" "No," I replied, "and I don't care." I then stretched my arms out from my sides for a bit, readying to brace myself to stand. Bunny gave a light whine as she said, "Aw, come on. Don't you want to know who they are or how they got here?" "No." "Please?" "No." "Please?" "No," I yelled. "Well, too bad," Wolf said as she sat on the left side couch watching the news in her full animal form, while Fox rubbed up against the left side of her. "He's on the news right now." I motioned to stand up, but I was halted by Bunny as she leaned forward more to give me a light kiss on the left side of my neck. She then let me stand so I could watch the news. Once I saw who Wolf and Bunny were talking about, I yelled, "What the fuck?" The neighbor downstairs banged against his roof and yelled, "Keep it down, damn it." "Shut up," I barked at the floor. The person that I saw on the news was Blight, the ball of light. Or, to me, the annoying ball of energy that never shuts the hell up. Blight was a weird one. He only spoke in riddles and would only talk normal to anyone within the royal dynasty. Contrary to his name, Blight was nothing more than a floating ball of light. A bright green ball of energy that was no bigger than the size of a baseball. He had a short fuse and was a bit of a hothead. So, no matter what, you couldn't really talk to him in any way. He was also very much an idiot. No one knows how Blight came to be. All we knew was that Grandpa just found him one day, out of complete random. Ever since then, Blight had been in the royal dynasty and only spoke when we needed him to, or when he felt that people needed to use their brains. When I saw him on the news, Blight seemed to be getting an interview. Funny though, he ignored what the reporter was asking and kept annoying them with the same riddle over and over again. So it was all good to me. However, it still just amazed me that he was on Earth too. How could Blight have come to Earth on his own? As I watched the news, the reporter would hold the microphone up to their mouth and ask a question, then put it near Blight to get an answer. Yet every time they would put the microphone up to him, Blight would answer with a riddle. The reporter tried to ignore and ask again, or ask another question, but it got old for the person real quick. Finally, the reporter turned towards the camera with their microphone just under their chin and said, "Well, it seems as though we can't figure out who or what this person is at this time. So I will try to get back to you with..." Blight quickly flew over to the microphone and yelled, "To some, I am a ball. To others, I am a light. But only to those who rule can bring me together." The screen changed back to the newsroom as the anchorman said, "Okay then. Thanks for that report out on the field, and I hope you find the answers that you seek in the near future. Until then, good luck." He then took a deep breath and said, "In other news, a group of civilians were witnesses to a tragic event that many believe had to do with our mysterious new arrivals." The screen switched to several different cameras around the mall from after the fight between JJ and I. After they panned through the visions, Showing the destruction, the anchorman continued, "As you can see, these newcomers are very destructive and have no regard for who or what is in their way. They destroy it if they feel like it, and let everyone else deal with the aftermath." "Stupid human," quietly said. "Many have seen these strange characters, but no one can give a clear picture on who they are, what they are, or where they're even from. So it's hard on all of us just to know that they have this strange power within their grasp, especially if they are not willing to comply with us in a peaceful manner. Some are even taking refuge to find a way to fight against these newcomers. However, their movement has not struck the attention of either the government or the president." The screen switched back to the newsroom with a close-up on the anchorman as he said, "So I speak for just about everyone watching when I say this. To the newcomers, please, turn a new leaf and bring yourself to justice, so that we may one day come to terms with each other and be at peace." I adjusted my glasses while I said, "Moronic fucking human." It really irritated me to see another anchor person on the news from the last time I watched it. It was like they replaced them every hour or so, just to get on my nerves. Every single time, whenever I was watching the news, after so long they would just change the people on camera out of nowhere. I seriously thought they were purposely trying to piss me off, which was working. After the news report, I pointed my right finger at the TV as I turned to Wolf and asked, "Where was Blight being interviewed?" "I don't know," she replied as she kept her focus on the TV. I wasn't paying much attention to it. I dropped my arm and looked up at the ceiling, irritated, while Yojin said, "It was somewhere in Nevada, I believe. I raced there once, called Vegas." I went to relax at my desk, fixing my chair to lean back in it again. Then Vincent said, "Though we know where Blight is, we don't know if he's with someone or not, so we can't just up and go after him." "Hey," Zaec said, motioning his right arm around Amber to gently place his right hand on her right shoulder. "I got an idea. Let's take a trip there." She gasped as she turned to him, then joyfully asked, "Really? You mean it?" "Of course. I promise you that." My chair broke again. Then I quickly stood up and grabbed the remote to the TV with my left hand and threw it at my twin brother as hard as I could. When it struck and broke over his head, I said, "You sicken me, brother." Zaec looked over at me, slightly depressed, while Amber glanced back at me with an angry expression. Of course, I didn't care. I then turned to look at my friend and asked, "What do you think, Vincent? What can we do?" Still motionless, Vincent replied, "There's really nothing we can do at this point. You need to figure out how to control yourself and stop this catastrophe with Dominic from happening. All I can say is if any more people from our side of the galaxy come over here, we may have a big problem on our hands." "Wonderful," I said, getting even more irritated. "Just be glad that this isn't a Monday, Ray." "Not too far from it, though." I fixed my chair once more and threw myself onto it to lean back to sleep again. Yet it broke, and all I did was lie on the floor. As I tried to sleep, forgetting about my chair and desk, Bunny moved onto my waist and just stared at me as she gently stroked my hair. 5 minutes passed, and loud, rapid banging came from the door. Shortly after that, someone yelled, "Hey, assholes! I just called the cops. They'll be here in about 2 minutes, so go ahead and make all the fucking noise you want, because once they get here, your asses will be out on the streets." Yojin hopped up and jolted over to the front door, while Vincent motioned to quickly swing the door open. I just closed my eyes and listened in on what they were doing, while sensing every motion that happened. Having opened the door so quickly, my friends had scared the man, who was frightened from more than them just glaring at him. The human was simple, possibly a mix of his own race, but was mainly Japanese. After the man caught his breath, Vincent said, "Sir, if you've been watching the news lately, you should realize by now that it would be best if you just forget about us and shut the hell up." "That's right," Yojin added, Ever heard of curiosity killed the cat? Well, idiocy beat the crap out of humans. Still shocked, yet slightly more calm, the human said, "Sorry for the interruption, but I would really like it if you guys could keep the noise level up here down a bit. Okay? What about 5-0, punk?" The man glanced around for a bit, then replied, I'll just say that there was a misunderstanding. So I'll just take the rap for it, okay? He then started to get excited a bit and said, "Listen, you guys are the coolest thing out on the streets right now, regardless of what the news is saying. So if you need anything, just knock on the floor and I'll come running up to help." My friends glanced at each other, then looked back as Vincent asked, "Why are you into helping us all of a sudden?" "Because you guys are badass. I saw that fight in Miami on TV, and the one in the mall down the street. It was so fucking sick, man. Everybody wants to be you guys. Some have even gone out of their way to fix their attire so they can look similar to you." "Bitches," Yojin said, turning away for a moment. "How exactly will you be able to help us then, fool?" "Simple." Just then, the man looked over to his left to see the policeman that he had called walk around the corner from the elevators. With that, he quickly turned back and said, "I'll tell you later. The name's Matthew, okay? Laters." Matthew headed towards the policeman to give a fake explanation on what was going on, pretending to act friendly with them. Vincent closed the door and resumed his post as Yojin went back to the couch to watch TV. A minute passed, and another knock came from the front door. Frustrated, to the point where I was going to punch someone, I moved out from under Bunny and jumped up to jolt over to the door. Instead of opening the door right away, I looked through the peephole to see a man with jade eyes, who wore the same things that Death had. However, the suit, tie, and pants were colored cerulean, with only his hat being black. The man stared at the door with a dull glare and said, "Death sent me." "Great," I bluntly said. "It's him." I then opened the door with my left hand, just enough to peek through, and asked, "What do you want, loser?" "You're coming with me. No questions. Death told me, if you don't comply, I was to blow up half of this building to prove you a point." Or something like that. "Not very bright, are you?" Algan grew angry and barked, "Just shut up and follow me." I sighed as I shut the door and turned back towards the living room. Though I didn't give Algan my answer right then and there, he knew I was going with him. I walked over to my desk to see the remote placed back on it, as if I didn't even touch it, then picked it up to turn the TV off. I dropped it onto my desk again and said, "Well, apparently I have to leave for some dumbass reason." "Can I come with?" Bunny asked. "No." "Aw, why not?" "In my absence, Wolf will be in charge." "What?" Amber yelled, quickly standing up as she turned to me. "That's bullshit. Me and Joe are the ones that own this room. We should be the ones in charge." "You best just sit down and be quiet, Amber," Vincent calmly said. "There's nothing you can say or do. Once anyone from the Royal Dynasty says to do something, you do it. Period." "Yeah," Yojin agreed, still staring at the TV, even with there being nothing on. "The Royal Dynasty has always been in power over our race since the dawn of time. And as much as I hate it myself, they are always the more powerful ones. So no one disrespects, disagrees, or runs against their authority." "You do," Joel said. "Fuck you, man," Amber barked at me. She then threw herself back onto the couch, while she crossed her arms and said, "Do whatever the hell you want, my lord." I sighed again and looked around the room to glance at everyone, noticing that most of them were now depressed from the situation. Afterwards, I looked up at the ceiling and said, "In my absence, Amber and Jewel will be in charge until I get back." I then looked over at my friends and said, Yojin and Vincent, you two are coming with me. I don't trust this Algan or his superiors. Very well then, Vincent replied. At the same time, Yojin said, sure thing, my nigga. Aw, come on, Bunny whined. That's bullcrap. Why can't I come? What's up with you people? I yelled, glancing at everyone again with an angry expression as I swung my hands up slightly for a second. I then turned towards Bunny and said, You're acting like a child. I am a child, she yelled. Come on, you know damn well that me, Mama, and Fox would love to come with you. She then held her hands together at her chest and begged, Please deal with it. I headed out of the room and went to follow Algan, but stopped and waited for my friends. However, as I turned back, I heard Wolf say, You heard him. I then saw her, Fox, and Bunny walk out as Fox closed the door. I looked over at them, annoyed, but just shook my head slightly and smiled. Afterwards, I asked, Guess I am bringing you, huh? They all gave me a smile and giggled, then Wolf and Bunny motioned to give me a light kiss. Amazingly, Fox did so as well. Then Wolf said, It wouldn't be a normal day without us, my lord. It still isn't because of Fox. She lightly slapped me and said, Oh, hush, Ray. Would you morons hurry up? Algan barked, standing with his right foot halfway in the elevator to hold the doors open. I'm starting to lose brain cells over here. Like there was any, I quietly said, motioning to follow as the others accompanied me. We entered the middle elevator and headed down to the lobby, with Algan right in front of the doors as he stared at them with a blank expression. No movement whatsoever, not even breathing. It looked kind of funny, but the girls barely able to hold in their snickering. On the ground floor, Algan quickly walked out just as the doors opened, not even waiting for them to open completely. He hurried towards the entrance/exit, nearly leaving the rest of us behind. Once we caught up to him outside, I asked, What's up with you? I said no questions, he barked, pulling out a black cell phone from his jacket pocket with his right hand. He then quickly dialed in a few numbers with his thumb before raising it to his ear. He waited for a few seconds, then said, I have him. What now? You don't even know where you're going? I asked with a smirk. That's sad. Quiet, you. Hey, Bunny barked. You better start treating Papa with some respect. Otherwise what? He barked as he turned to face her, lowering his phone. I watched Bunny become saddened by the Kexan's hateful words, which instantly made me angry. Though I could understand that he must have hated having to help someone from the royal dynasty, he could have at least acted well-mannered with the others nearby. If it was just me, I wouldn't have cared the slightest bit of how rude he was being. I've met worse. I raised my right hand towards Algan and said, Look, I can tell you're not in the mood to be doing whatever it is that you were told to do. I then moved to point at Bunny for a second as I continued, But there's no excuse for lashing out at my daughter like that. So either you explain right now as to why you're so pissed off and apologize to Bunny, or I will drop you right here and now. We stood there waiting for Algan to reply, with some of the humans around us starting to watch what was going on. They were probably wondering, from what they could hear, that they might just get to see a fight. Some only watching because they recognized us from the news. So at that point, we all knew that if the Kexan didn't do something soon, things would just get worse. Algan looked around a bit to see those watching, while they whispered amongst themselves. He then quietly said, Damn Quellens. After that, he raised his phone up to his ear again to speak to the person he called. In response, as if he had been talking to whoever it was this whole time, Algan calmly said, Fine, I'll bring them there. person said something, which somehow angered both of them. Algan looked over to his right, as if to stare at the person he had called, and said, "Yeah, said them. What the hell do you think I said?" After that, the person on the phone yelled, loud enough for us to hear, and for me to find out it wasn't Death speaking. I stared in irritation as I asked, "Are you just about done?" Algan calmed down to whomever he was talking to and said, "Sorry, sir. It will never happen again. They'll be there in a few minutes." He put away the phone, then said, "Alright, we need to get over to He stopped and glanced around at the humans, then looked over at me and said, "Never mind. Just follow." As he turned his back to me, he continued, "And try to keep up, Endelment." Algan knelt down a bit and jumped to fly past the clouds, making the humans around gasp and start to gossip. Now that just pissed me off. Everyone was starting to think that I was this bullcrap Endelment guy, yet most didn't even know who I really was. I'm just one simple Kexan, nothing more. There was no way that I, and I alone, was this ridiculous legend. There was nothing to prove that I was the Endelment, so there should be no reason for anyone to bother me. I just wanted to be left alone, damn it. And to think that all this started on a Monday. A Monday! Someone's gonna die for this. All the humans around us were shocked and awed as they saw the rest of us fly up after Algan. Some even began to scream in joy as they asked those around them if they had just seen what they saw. Algan had a mile head start, but it seemed easy to catch up to him. However, once he looked back to see us following, he increased his speed tremendously and made us look like we were standing still. The three of us were barely able to follow his energy trail, but caught up to him again once he stopped over the Nevada desert, far to the west of the Las Vegas city. The sun had just set when we got there, with Algan floating about 200 feet up as he looked down at the ground. Bunny and Fox were panting heavily, while Wolf said, "Geez, man, how the hell are you so fast?" Algan calmly turned to face us and replied, "Don't worry about it. Once you touch the ground floor, time for you will change. Also, once you touch the ground floor, you will meet up with your instructor, Endelment." "Quit calling me that," I barked. "Even so," he continued, "pay close attention as to what goes on." I squinted my eyes slightly while adjusting my glasses and asked, "How exactly will time change?" "I thought I said no questions, damn it." "You better watch yourself," Wolf barked as she took a step towards Algan with her right foot, raising her right fist up slightly. "Or else we will fuck you up." "Yeah," Wolf agreed as she too stepped forward. Irritated at the threat given, Algan looked away for a moment and said, "Bitches." He then turned back and replied, "Fine, have it your way. To answer your question, it will increase dramatically. However, with an increase in time, so will the increase in your powers as you train. It's like fast forwarding a movie to the end, while still getting the gist of it." "And my apology?" Bunny asked. "I'm sorry that you're a needy little bitch. There." I pulled my right fist back and jolted for a strike as I yelled, "Take that back!" As I swung, Algan teleported away and was out of my range to follow. I turned from side to side to try and look for him, but it wasn't any good. I looked over to see Bunny starting to cry, then hovered over to her to gently wrap her in my arms. Wolf and Fox turned to her as they bent their ears down, while Fox grabbed Wolf's arm with both of her own. Holding her close, I said, "I'm sorry, Bunny. It's okay. Just forget him." "It's not fair. Why are we looked at as just servants and weaklings?" While we floated down, I said, "No, you're not, Bunny. Especially not to me. You're my baby girl." Bunny stopped crying as she moved to look up at me, with me looking down at her with a smile, and continued, "You're no one's servant, and you're as strong, if not stronger, than either wolf or I, be it in mind, body, or spirit." Bunny wiped her tears away, then smiled back as she hugged me and said, "Thanks, Papa." When the four of us touched the ground, the storm disappeared. The sky cleared and was as blue as it could ever be. The wind had a nice cool breeze to it, and the air was cleaner than ever, with the temperature being at around 6 degrees. I hated that. I looked around to see if there was anybody else here, while the girls spoke amongst each other about something else. Oddly enough, there wasn't anyone else there, not even a hint of an energy reading. All that was around were several dry brown bushes, some dead trees, and desert, with far-off mountaintops that looked to be hundreds of miles out. Not even the city was noticeable anymore. It seemed quite peaceful to me, but it was that annoying, perfect weather, and I knew it to not be true. It was still Earth, which humans ruled and ruined. So, of course, nothing was ever true there. I tried to call out to someone for about 2 minutes, but no one showed up or even answered. We ended up seeing how far we could go by splitting up to see what would happen. Found out that the area repeated itself within a 2-mile circumference, keeping us from reaching the mountains on the outskirts. It also kept us from using most of our powers. The few things we could do were use energy blasts, while we could also add and transform some of our own body parts. So we stood there, baffled at the situation. Someone began laughing in the distance. The four of us motioned into defense as the laughing appeared, then stopped. Someone spoke, as if from a distance, and said, "Well now, what a surprise. I didn't think someone from the royal dynasty would actually be the one to show up. Fantastic." I looked around to try and find who was talking as they continued, "That's it, Endelment. Try and find me." As I turned to some of the bushes, the person said, "No, not there." I then turned to the mountains, and it said, "Ah, close. But no. Nice shot, though." I stopped looking around, because I was getting frustrated, and started to feel that I really wanted to punch this bastard. When I turned to look over at some other bushes, I yelled, "Listen, either you show yourself right now, or I will go berserk on this place. You got that?" "Same goes for me," Bunny barked. Now, the voice said. "No need to get angry." "Well, actually, yes you do. But you shouldn't get angry over things that don't matter, I guess." With that, a pale yet dark skin-toned man appeared on one of the small hills nearby. He wore a completely black suit, with just the tie and his fedora white. He looked to be about my height, and slightly skinnier than me, with his head completely shaved. His left eye shined dark maroon, while his right eye shined light orange. As the man took off his hat and placed it at his chest to bow, he said, "Please forgive me, Endelment. Allow me to introduce myself. My name's..." He paused for a moment, then stood himself up straight as he placed his hat back on and continued, "Way too long for me to announce. Just call me Takai, or Tak. I am one of the 3 only ancients left that live in the known galaxy, those including Death and James Jericho. We've lived since time began, and have acquired some new abilities that even we thought were unable to obtain. By the way, I brought you guys a little friend from the palace. He was awfully upset when he found that you left and wanted to see you again, so I figured I could bring him here." Just then, Blight came out from behind Tak, quickly flew around him once in joy, then flew out towards me. Moving to float a foot away from my face, he said, "My lord, it is so good to see you once again. Real quick. To some, I am Blight, it's you, I said, irritated. I heard that riddle on the news, and I already knew the answer before you even said the whole thing. Now shut up. Wow, you're good. He then jolted up slightly and yelled, Correct. Blight turned towards Bunny and started talking to her about what was going on, while Tack called out, Well, Endelment, if that is what you wish for me to call you. No, I hate that name. I don't know what you and Death and all your idiot friends are thinking, but I'm not this Endelment, so quit thinking that I am. 1,000 pardons, my lord, but I would like to know something about you. What? Can you... He vanished from where he was to stand just 3 feet away in front of me and continued, Teleport? No, I said, uncaring. So you're an ancient? Somewhat. Ever since the others disappeared, most of my great powers were taken from me. Yeah, like all ancients, I can't age past my 20th year, no matter how old I get. But it doesn't matter. It should. Tack stood there for about 10 seconds in silence as he gave a blank stare, then asked, So you can't teleport, huh? I squinted my eyes slightly and replied, Only those who are naturally born with that power can do so. He stood again in silence, then quickly took off his hat and slapped me across the face with it as he yelled, Wrong! As he put his hat back on, he quickly said, That was a myth believed that only a few handpicked of our kind could teleport. However, we Sentinels have found a way to use the power of teleportation whenever we feel like it. Pissed that I was struck by a hat, I looked over at the Kexan, trying to hide my angry expression, and said, Let me guess. You found out using the powers of darkness, right? Correct. Before Tack could finish, I quickly clenched my right hand into a fist and swung at his face, quite upset from when he hit me earlier. However, when my fist should have hit him, Tack teleported away, and I stumbled forward a bit. Nearly falling onto the ground, I quickly regained my stance as Tack teleported back behind me. Well, that wasn't very nice of you, Endelment, he said. When I turned around for another strike, he continued, Watch your step. A giant hole appeared underneath me, and I fell through, yelling in a panic as I felt I was falling to my death. I had closed my eyes when I fell in, but when I hit the ground after a 2-minute drop, I opened my eyes slowly. To my surprise, I was back in the desert and laying in the same area where I fell down that weird hole. Confused, I quickly sprung up onto my feet and glanced around, then looked over at Tack and asked, What the hell happened? Oh, did I forget to mention something? Tack smirked as he continued, Sorry about that. I'm both the gatekeeper and the ruler of this area, so nothing you do will affect me. This small portion of the world now belongs to me until you have completed your training. It allows the user to train themselves 10 times faster and easier. So get used to it. Because as long as you're here, and I keep you in check, you have to do as I say. How do we get out then? Fox asked. Simple, he replied, looking over his right shoulder. All the Endelment has to do is find a way to control his new powers, which shouldn't be too hard for him. Blight, hovering over Bunny's right shoulder, asked, Why do you keep calling him that? My thoughts exactly, I said. All in good time, Tack replied. Once he's done training, it should be easy for him to get out of here. Wolf, now irritated, said, That doesn't sound very reassuring. What if he's never able to control it? Bunny asked. Blight swung around Bunny's head to get her attention, then flew to hover over my left shoulder and said, Though I am not the best to rely on, I am always there for you. I became annoyed and thought, Great, he's gonna start speaking in riddles again. But he does make a good point. Right now, all we can do is hope. I then looked over at Bunny as I put a light smile on and said, "Don't worry, I'll be able to control this thing. I promise you that." Wolf drew a light smile as she looked at me and asked, "You sure about that, my lord?" I looked over at her and chuckled as I asked, "Since when have I never kept a promise?" I then looked over at Tack and asked, "Where do we begin?" This concludes the reading of Chapter 14. Thank you all for watching and listening. If you like what you've seen and heard, there will be a link to my physical works in the description below. Other than that, stay safe, take care, and we'll see you again next week, reading Chapter 15.